Yeah. Salute. It's your guy ME Drip. We back at it again, but this was gonna be a little bit different, right? So, I'm gonna just for this episode, right? It's not gonna be no interview. It's not gonna be me going to a food restaurant or uh take y'all on a tour somewhere. This is just about me, giving my perspective on certain things that goes on around the world. 'Cause I know a lot of y'all, you know, people been, shooting me DMs, and some people been in my ear saying, "Yo, you should really give your perspective." So I think I'm gonna finally, walk that path because it's something I want to do, not on everybody else's time. But like I said, I do hear y'all and I'm listening to y'all. So, right. So for this one, I want to talk about how a pastor overseas, how you can be a pastor overseas versus being a pastor stateside. And so I want to share this story about, this pastor. His name is Josh Whitaker, right? So a little bit about him and his backstory. Josh Whitaker, he's married. He's a husband, father. He may be an uncle or something like that, but he is a son. And he wear many hats in his school, which I'm gonna talk about too. He a teacher, he a coach, counselor, uh, principal, and he the owner of the entire school and church. So it originally didn't start out that way. Originally it was his dad. His dad, which is James Whitaker, and his wife, which is still alive to this day. James Whitaker, unfortunately, isn't, here with us. RP to him. But James Whitaker, Pastor Whitaker, was the one who started the church. He has a church on the first floor. He got like 3, 4 floors, but it's a half church, half school. The church is on the first floor, and then, the rest of the 3, maybe 4 floors that goes to the school, right? And so I think he teach his program. He teach elementary all the way up to high school, so you can graduate from his school. Um, at all levels except preschool. He don't have preschool, but he do have he's working on partnerships and stuff like that because he didn't want to dabble off into the preschool lane. So he started out with this vision of opening up, a church, right? And then basically what happened, he got told a lot of no's because he went overseas in Japan. He got told a lot of no's about trying to, get the land and start the church up. And basically, long story short, somebody gave him, the $1 million. They didn't give him $1 million, but long story short, he got $1 million, and then he invested it into the church. And then it's been running there since. That church has probably been around at least about a good 20, 40, maybe 50 plus years. It's a generational business now too, as well. Um, he unfortunately passed because he had cancer and stuff like that. He beat cancer like several times. Uh, but about his dad, not only did he beat cancer, certain times, a lot of times, he traveled the world. He met a lot of different pastors. He baptized almost 1,000 people, members of his church, and he graduated over thousands. I can't say that he graduated over thousands of kids that came from his school. The school name is Zion Christianity Church. So he did leave a legacy behind because he had the church and the school. He helped a lot of people, whether it's spiritually or mentally, as far as on the educational side, right? And he left a generational business behind. So his family can eat out there for generations and build upon that. So he's no longer here with us, but then he left it to his son, right? His son named Joshua Whitaker. He a pastor, right? He really following in the same footsteps. Pastor, got a wife, got the kids, and now he assuming every position uh, that his dad is, right? So I'm gonna give you the good side of his life and then the bad side of his life, being pastor, overseas. So I'm gonna start with the good side first. So the good side is with his school, like he overseas, right? So one of the big benefits he have is that this island is the island, not this island, but that island in Japan is small. So for him, he don't really like if he do good with a certain amount of kids. Birds of a feather flock together. So all parents know each other. So if they do good with a certain amount of kids, that just keeps the school machine running. And obviously, if it's been around 40, 50 plus years, that machine been running long and well because he been doing a good job. He been graduating kids, and he been helping their parents on the spiritual side. So they've been getting a lot of help in different areas, and that's what makes them want to continue going to the school and stuff like that. Uh, Another good benefit to him being overseas is that when it comes to the crime rate, right? So, and him being overseas, he don't have to deal with. Well, I'm gonna get to that later. But let's start the crime rate, right? So, because some public schools and sometimes charter schools and private schools and stuff like that, other countries, right? They have a lot of crime rate. Kids bringing guns to school, smoking, uh, a lot of fighting going on, a lot of gambling. Like it'd be a lot of street activity go on in the schools. Sometimes the teachers catch it, sometimes they don't. But it'd be a lot of criminal activity that be going on in the schools. And in his school, he don't really have to worry about that. Far as the criminal activity. So, and the reason why is because the people that send their kids to the school, it's on a certain demographic anyway. Because a lot of people that go to school, probably military or they working class, right? Um, Japanese community. Then you have some Filipinos that are working class. They travel there, and then you had Americans that go there too. But the Americans, right? They filtered out because it's the people that travel. They either working class or high class. They not poor. So, because the people poor mindset, they gonna do all the criminal activity stuff. The people with the working class and stuff like that, and the high class, they not gonna do all the criminal activities and stuff like that. It's just certain stuff you don't have to deal with when you with um the average people, because he don't really accept everybody in the school. So he that even further filters it out, and it leads me to my next point. His school is beneficial because it's very very diverse, right? So you're not finna just have one culture, in a classroom. So like the learning atmosphere, is very very fun because uh you got various different people from around the world and stuff sharing their experiences and stuff like that. And another thing, like it's safe too in his school. Like out of the whole year, he still do get fights and stuff like that. But the most I've heard he probably had like out of his school, the most write ups he had to do with kids was probably like two out of the whole year. So in his school, he got over 200. He got up to around 250 kids, right? For uh a church slash school that's public, right? He doing better than some public schools in other countries, right? They have like almost 250 kids, right? He's doing good to the point where he actually looking at expanding his building. So again, it's safe too. The kids feel safe, the parents feel safe. So when you in a safe environment, a lot of people gonna want to come because they're gonna feel safe to just relax and be them and get their education and stuff like that. So a lot of parents, especially the ones who quote unquote filtered out, and what I mean by filtered out is they in a certain class, they don't have a poor mindset. They not on the mindset of trying to you know uh, even the kids, they not in the mindset of trying to rob and do a lot of criminal activity because their parents not doing that. So they don't even see that. They really don't even know what that is. The only time they really know what it is if they see it through social media. But so they gonna be filtered out. So they gonna be safe coming to school. And like I said, birds of a feather flock together. So if all the parents talking about they safe and stuff like that from various different cultures, then a lot of people come to school. So that's how he was able to get 250 some kids coming to a school. Like it's small things like that. Another thing too, the attention to detail that he got too. Like when you go in his school, he hired a lot of them. Now, before I say this, his program is non discrimination. It is equal opportunity across the board. So I will say that it is equal opportunity across the board. He is not paying me, to say this or anything like that. This is based on my relationship with him and what I witnessed from him. But one thing he did was smart was he hired a lot of mothers in the school, right? So a lot of feminine energy, a lot of mothers in the school. Now he do have masculine energy, male teachers and stuff like that, but he put them more so, and based off what they qualify for, he put them more so in the coach's position, right? So, and I'm gonna explain how this could be, very impactful on the kids. So if you got the mother teachers, they're known as the nurturers, right? That's just genetically, how they made up. I ain't here for the debating and stuff like that, right? But they here, uh, they're known, they're here on earth and they're known for the nurturing and stuff like that. So when they're in the classroom and they mothers, right? So they gonna tend to have more extra care for the kids rather than, you know, a single young person who fresh out of college, just getting their feet wet in the field and stuff like that. Or, you know, you may have an old person, but the old person ain't never, had no family and things like that. They on the downside of their life and stuff like that. So it's just different. So they hired a lot of mothers that are, they not young mothers. Well, to me, if you're 50 and below, you're young. Uh, but they hired seasoned mothers, if that makes sense. Like, they got a couple of kids, they've been around for a little minute. They probably been teaching, for a couple of years. So he hired experience as far as them being mothers and being teachers. And that's important because, like I said, they're gonna have experience with their care. He is not he I haven't seen him just hire no young teacher, right? And that's close to their age and put them in school. Now he will. It depends on, for those who watching and want to, work for the school, he will. It depends on how you position yourself and stuff like that. When you go in the room, it's probably gonna be one of the questions he asks or bring up, or his dad's wife, because his dad's wife run the school too. So I'm pretty sure he go get decisions from her and stuff like that, and she probably part of the interview process as far as hiring women and stuff like that. So when she act when his mom Miss Whitaker, when she start asking you questions like you young, so because that's she gonna throw that out there, you young, how do you think you being young will affect your teacher? Or she may ask something like that just to see how you respond. You gotta be be ready for it, because you do got a little obstacle in there, because a lot of them people they much more seasoned. Now for the men's side, they are men teachers there, right? And a lot of them are in the coaches positions, right? So now coaches position, and it's kind of similar to a role of a man. You instill the discipline. You know what I'm saying? You promote the teamwork, right? And you the ones who be hard on them. So like in the classroom, the teachers, I ain't saying they nice as pushovers, but they got a much more free flowing personality. But then when you got these male coaches on the other end, right? They the ones who going hard on you, being aggressive, telling you the harsh truth and stuff like that, and hold you accountable. Now you got that. They created a household within the school. So you already getting it at home, right? Because a lot of them, they got majority of them kids that go to school, they got a mommy and dad in the house. So that's another reason why they school ain't out of whack all the time, because they ain't in no messed up household. And now they bought Josh and his mom and his dad, right? RP to the dad. Now they bought that same atmosphere into the school, as far as the mothership and the father, or the motherhood and the fatherhood like energy into the school. So now they not lacking at any time, like throughout their life, because technically I'm gonna put y'all up on game. Kids spend more time at school than at home. If not, dang near, they spend an equal amount of time on both sides, home and at school. But the only difference is at school, right? Kids learn more at school than sometimes what they learn at home. Now I don't know what they learning at home, in that school and stuff like that, but this is just across the board, because they 8 hours. Kids do eight. You have some kids that do 8 hours, some kids do 10 hours in school, some kids do 15 hours. Like these kids be doing 40. These kids be working shifts. They be going to school like they be working shifts. So they mind is just, this is all that's getting ingrained into them. So for them to actually steal that in them, as far as they get to see the motherhood and the fatherhood not only at home, but they get to see that in the classroom too as well. Man, that's key right there, that he does really well, right? And this is when it comes to his relationship build, like whether it be with the parents, the teachers, or other pastors, right? Um, he does a real good job, like slow to hire, quick to fire type mindset. So a lot of times, just because somebody have a high status or they have a low status or mid status, as far as they, just who they are in general, he's not gonna be too quick to just jump in a relationship with somebody just to, try to rush things and expedite things and stuff like that. No, Josh, he too smart for that. He learned from his dad. I think the biggest lesson he learned from his daddy was when he wanted to do Bitcoin. Yeah, that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to do Bitcoin, and his dad told him no, and he told him to just wait and stuff like that. Just wait. He said don't invest no Bitcoin, and wait. And so Josh probably felt a certain type of way at the time, and a lot of people did, because they ain't capitalized on that opportunity, which is cool. But then months down the line, you know, not months, but a couple years later, that's when um he turned around and he had access to, I ain't gonna expose how he got it, because he probably ain't gonna want me to speak on that there. He did have access to a lot of money, uh, and it's 100% legal how he had all this money. It was through inheritances and stuff like that. But I ain't gonna speak too much on how he got that. But I think that was one of his big lessons that he learned right there. About being patient and stuff like that. And I think that spirit of his father still carry on to his relationships and stuff like that, like being slow to hire, right? Being slow process, trying to network and build with people and stuff like that. He not finna just jump just because he got a good idea, and even if he think it's a great idea, right? He not finna move too fast on it. So that's one thing he does really well, is like he marinate his relationships. A lot of people in the church that are church members, uh, and maybe some parents too, and some teachers to a certain extent, like the ones who really know Josh. Like I know Josh personally, like And there's other people that know him longer than I have. They got like me, I got like 3, 4, maybe 5 years I know him, and other people got more time that they know him. And I known him for probably up to 5 years, and we haven't done like nothing like we got a great relationship. I haven't done nothing like groundbreaking in the church like that. But that just goes to show like how slow he is and meticulous he is with building his relationships. Another thing Josh did that was smart, right? He waited his time. He waited his time. Now, a lot of people say never outshine your master. I don't really believe in that too much because if you do have somebody who's the quote unquote master for you, uh, that's their goal is to mentor you so you won't make the same mistakes that they did. So of course you're supposed to be better than them, right? But he waited his time. Um, he never really wanted to start out doing it at first, but being a pastor and, stuff like that. Um, he wanted to be more so of an investor, but it's kind of coming around full circle how you being an investor now. But he waited his time. Like he was fortunate enough to have both his parents in life. Um, and for his, he's a black male, so that's very, very important because, a lot of them ain't got that in their household. So he stood up under, you know, his his dad under his wing and, picking his brain and always getting advice and stuff like that, always following him around and stuff like that. And his dad inspired him, instilling that mental toughness in him and stuff like that. Like, you know, uh, when you see somebody do greatness or not greatness, when you see somebody do great things and they exemplify greatness, right? And you're around it, it's gonna rub off on you. So that's one thing Josh did. He surrounded himself around that greatness. And now he took some of that, nuggets and stuff like that. And now he basically running with it. Another thing he did, right, that was smart is him being a pastor and the owner of the school, right? He found he found a good wife. Now, not only is his wife good, they was good friends first. Like I think God, kind of played a big part in them marinating their relationship because now they run the business. It's not so much of they mommy and daddy run the business. They run the business now. But they marinated their relationship by being friends first. They look past the whole alleged. They look past the whole, sexual part, of the relationship and stuff like that. They look past the whole money thing and, materialistic things and stuff like that. Like he found him a nice, solid wife. You know what I mean? She may not be, uh, like a Lauren London or Beyonce with, or the long nails, the new hair done. Uh, you know how they come. She 100% natural, and that's how he like it, and that's how he rocking and rolling. And he had a plan, and he showed her the direction, and his mama and daddy they met her. They met I forgot her name. Uh, but her last name was Miss Whitaker, but I forgot her name. But he met her wife, and they stamped her, and it was on, to the horses. So that was another thing he did real smart. Like, he found him a solid woman. Um, that was now again they did have their own relationship issues and problems and stuff like that, as far as getting burnt out and stuff like that. Yes, they probably got burnt out. Uh, they probably something one of them was probably cheating. You know how I go. One of them probably cheating or thinking about cheating. You know, the Josh, he could have been in church and he saw a cute girl walking by and he probably staring at her booty, and then his wife or girlfriend at the time looking at him and she called him, and then she wanted to get her lick back. So, she rubbed on the man. So, they went through their little toxic phase too, just like everybody else. They don't, the toxic phase, the honeymoon phase, everybody gets it. It don't discriminate. Um, but like I say, he found a sturdy wife who looked at the big picture of things, and they still stood by his side. So now they've been in the game, as far as their marriage, like 10 plus years. Now, will they last? We don't know how they go, but we don't know how that may play out. But we know how it go when them situations come. I hope it don't happen, but we know how stuff can happen when people change, feelings change, and grow apart and stuff like that. But that's another good example. He found him a wife, right? But not only was he looking for like a wife and a mother of his kid, he made sure he had a good friend first, which is important because sometimes being, a wife and a girlfriend, that stuff may get boring. But if you always got you a good friend first, like that's what really starts, a good relationship because you can always go back to that foundation of being a friend, right? A lot of times people build their relationship off of looks and, sex and stuff like that. And once you peak at that, cause it's only so many times, you're gonna bust a nut. It's only so many positions you're gonna do. It's only so much noise you're gonna make. So much stuff you're gonna whisper in somebody's ear when you in the bed at night. But at a certain point you're gonna peak. And I'm pretty sure they probably peaked at a certain point too. But if you still good friends, right? In them times when the whole intimacy go away, far as boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, and wife, y'all still good friends. Y'all can still get a good laugh in. Ha ha. You know what I'm saying? You can still get a good laugh in and just chill and relax, and the relationship ain't gonna be as it ain't gonna be. And another thing, Josh doing that's smart when it comes to like running his church and his school, right? So he, how can I say it, right? He not one of them, pastors or owners who got a lot of responsibility and stuff like that. They get the big head, they feel that they don't need anybody and stuff like that. And with him, it's the exact opposite. Like he still go get coaches and mentors and stuff like that. He still go network and stuff as if he don't know anything, right? He still, I don't want to say humble because sometimes everybody, people throw their word humble around, but like he's very down to earth, like when it comes to certain things. So like when it comes to like, you know, maintaining relationships and you know trying to run his business and stuff like that, he has people that's in his corner. Maybe that's father head, obviously because they coaches and stuff like that. They can keep his head and body on the straight path as he moving forward, which is important because a lot of times, you can stray away and stuff like that. So if you have somebody that's, realigning you back to where you need to be, you will never really fall off. And that's how their business always remained strong because not only did his dad have people to keep him realigned, and, they believe in having God keeping them realigned too. But you having people that keep you aligned, they never really fall off. That's how they been running 40 plus years, you know, going on, I think 40 years. So, and that's another thing that leads to my next point. The business been standing strong. So one thing that he doing smart is he not selling. He not gonna sell his business. Like he not finna do, the merger acquisition where they do this thing. It's called exits, right? So they'll build the business up and they'll build the value up in a company, and then they'll get it. I think the term is value. They'll get it valued, and then they'll put it on the market one day, and they'll try to look for a big sale. A lot of times, it could be 7 figure, 8 figure. That's where you really try to go at 7 figure, 8 figure, 9 figure, and maybe 10 figures, right? And you'll have some businesses that say, "Hey, I'll sell it for 6 figures, 500,000, 250,000, 300,000, 700,000." So you'll have some that sell in the 6 figure range. They call it the big exit. So he already made it known, not publicly, but this is, I'm just giving inside scoop to the conversation I had with him. He already made known he's not looking for no big exit. So his business is gonna be he's gonna expand it far as the brand into different things. Um, so his kids gonna forever eat off of it. So his kids gonna eat off the business, and maybe they kids will eat off the business. So it'll remain sturdy. Now I'm a little worried because I never really got to ask him, but it does raise some concern because you may ask like, what if your kids, don't want to be the pastor or the no teacher, nothing like that. Well, if they just say they want to be the owner of the school, they want to do their own thing. See, that's something you got to think about when you pass something on to your kids. They may not always want it to deal with that type of responsibility that comes with the business. So that's something he gonna have to address when the time comes. Maybe he may do some where I'm giving an example like WWE, right? They did a deal with UFC, or I think it was UFC. They bought UFC or Saudi Arabia, one of them companies. They bought WWE, but the McMahons, they never really stepped down. They still on the board of directors. So that means they still get a percentage of the company, and they get a percentage of the stocks too. Now his company, now Josh, business, the church and the school, because all this a business. They not an IPO or public trading company, but it may be something he work out in the future. Like if somebody decides to want to come in and run the business and stuff like that, he may find the owner operator instead of his kids being the owner operator, and then have the kids be the owner investors, or they could just get a portion of the equity or the profits and stuff like that. If the kids say, "Hey, we want to do a big exit in the future," that's something he gonna have to work out later on down the line. Another thing he did, which was smart, him already thinking about investing. So He like a lot of the pastors. They just rely solely on tithe money on Sunday. He not like that. He not relying on Thursday tithe money. He not relying on what they call on Sundays where they sell food. He not relying on none of that. He now don't get me wrong. He do get some a steady income out there, but he got he got school in the building, so the kids they paying for the mom and dad they paying for the school and 250. Now you do the math. They paying monthly, regardless of the price. You could say, hey, they probably let's say hey they pay $100 a month, 100 times 250. You do the math, like hey, so he got school, then he got nonprofit stateside, so he may be capitalizing on the grants stateside monthly, getting $1,000 here, $2,000 there, and then he talking about expanding to other shops, as far as other businesses, opening up different businesses in Okinawa, so he gonna get another income off that there. And then he talking about investing in different type of real estate projects and stuff like that. So now people finna be paying him every month to have a place to stay, so he getting another income right off that there. And it's not including he may say, hey, one day, hey, I'm thinking about writing a book. Then he turn around and write a book, so he gonna get an income off that. And then he networking with different pastors, and he shoulder to shoulder with Jim Quick. If y'all know who Jim Quick is, that's the one who did the speed reading book. He shoulder to shoulder with Grant Cardone and all them. So now that means now he shoulder to shoulder with him. They finna get a lot of different sponsorships. Somebody may be like, hey, I need a tax write off, Josh. You know what? I'm going to do an overseas charity giveaway for your kids. So every Thanksgiving, we'll give y'all a turkey drive, backpacks, maybe some bikes, or we may donate 5,000 to your school, 10,000 to your school, 15,000 to your school. So now kids can get better lunches, better equipment, and they could get, just better, better incentives, right? And then those people who donate to the school, they could probably get incentives because they kids, they could be like, hey, I know your school, you got good education at your school, and I'm donating to the school. Um, maybe Josh may give them incentive like, hey, we'll let your kid come to school for free. Hey, it wouldn't be a bad offer if somebody donate 10,000, 15, 20,000, a year to your school. Hey, you can let a couple of their kids come to school for free because you finna keep getting that income. So that's another thing he doing is smart, is like looking into different investments and he getting the bag off that. Another thing he could do counseling too, like for like all the ones in the church that's looking for, and he's starting to kind of do it, but I don't know if he's trying to like fully monetize off of it. I think he's just doing it just because to bring the church together and stuff like that. But he can do couples counseling. They got 10, 20 years, in the game. They got a strong, steady business. They got nice, respectful kids. So a lot of people they be going to church, they be married and stuff like that, especially in Japan, because it be a lot of cheating going on with their husband and wives in Japan. Y'all may not know that, but yeah, a lot of them they be it ain't really it ain't cheating because what they do in Japan, there's that happens a lot in Japan. What happens is some of them be working so much and stuff, they testosterone or the woman's both they sex drive and stuff go down, so they kind of lose intimacy in a relationship, but they still want to be together because they may be good friends and they still believe in the marriage. They got kids. They don't want to set that bad example for the kids, but they just probably not into each other intimate. So they'll probably go somewhere else, right? And go get that intimacy temporarily and, from quote unquote therapists. So they, Josh and his wife could be like counselors and stuff, for Japanese and maybe the Americans and Filipino. So community, if he come to school, he can be giving a lot of counseling sessions and stuff like that there for the kids. Um, and he probably can have a singles program too, where he try to help the men get married. So he could start there too. That's another bag. People would be willing to pay for. So it's various different ways he can get him some income there. Reason why his church and his school is so successful too, or not so successful, but the room. How can I say it? He still got a lot more room to grow because he technically knew at this whole being a business owner thing. He only been doing it 2 years. Luckily, he had a business uh savvy dad, and the business has been strong and sturdy for 40 some years. But the room for growth is pretty high because he got 200 kids in the school. He got a lot of members in the church, very diverse, Japanese, Filipino, Americans, And he did all this without marketing. He did all this without he didn't him nor his dad did any promo. They haven't did any marketing, no aggressive marketing. They haven't did no guerrilla marketing or anything like that. I think they did this more solely off word of mouth. And so you can just imagine they just put a little bit more effort. They took their money and put a little bit more behind the marketing dollars and stuff like that. Imagine where they stuff will be. Now, I think the church won't boom faster than the school will. Because in these days and time, people value school more than they value church. That's just that's just how it is. Because everybody got their mixed feelings about church. You need, some people say you need to go to church. Some people say you don't need to go to church. So everybody got these mixed feelings about church. But one thing everybody gonna need, they need a school. And regardless of how we feel about it, school to a lot of people is more valuable than going to church. Um, so I think his school will grow faster than the church itself. Not saying that the church won't grow, because the church has been very, very steady over, 40 some years, but it won't grow as fast as the school. Because I even talk, not his kids at the school, but I even talk to some kids who go to a school or Christian school and stuff like that. They talk about, they go to the school, and I've heard quite a few kids there, not at his school, again, not at his school, but just in general, they go to a Christian school and they tell you they like the school, but they ain't going to church. And you ask them why they ain't going to church, they be like, I don't believe in church. All right. Or they don't believe in certain practices of Christianity, or they feel that they don't need church and stuff like that. They can do it at home, or they can go online at home and go to watch church. So you got people who ain't gonna go, but they still feel that hey, they need to go to school. And some of it, regardless how you feel about it, because some of it can be to their detriment. Like a lot of times, people go into the school for professional development. And they go in school for professional development. They using their professional development to get some type of gain, and that type of gain is a form of money. And they're just what we is with that. So his church, to me, will it grow fast as a school? No, 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 no. Because like I said, a lot of people don't value church as I gave y'all a lot of good news or the pros to his life or overseas pastor's life, right? Uh, it's like slash business owners. So I gave y'all a lot of good stuff with that. Now I'm gonna give y'all the bad side of things, right? So, and it's a few of them. One, I'm gonna start with his wife, right? So now before I get into the wife, I'm gonna say this too. Me and the wife, we cool. I have no issues with the wife. We got a good, solid relationship. I know if I need something from her, I could, reach out to her. So this is in no way or no harm, no foul. This is any way where I'm trying to, bash her or, smear her name or nothing like that. That is a great woman, you know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna just give you the downside to being a pastor and having a wife. His downside to it is like he don't have, compared to a single person or a person who not, married, they probably divorced or something like that. He can't go too many places by himself. So like, as a man, sometimes like men, they be wanting that alone time. They want to be able to talk to them, talk to themselves, listen to their thoughts and stuff like that. He really too much can't do that unless he probably in the office somewhere and she's somewhere taking care of something. That's like the only time he could probably, get that me time. When it's with his wife, he can't really get no me time like that. It's not me time with them, it's we time. So when you got a wife, right, and you a pastor, you have this certain image that you gotta uphold because you preaching about faith and commitment and honor, integrity, and all these things in the church, and then you go off on the side and you're not living that way. That'll slow the business down. That'll slow you serving other people. And to some people who believe whether it's Buddha, Allah, uh, God, Lord, Holy Spirit. Some people believe like if you doing stuff on the side, you could mess up your relationship with him or whoever that you believe in that higher source, right? So with him, he can't really get that me time, and that's really crucial for a man to get that me time. But he can't because he got to be with his wife everywhere. Because keep in mind he's in a small town, and it's gonna go to the next one, which is talking about public figure. He's in a small, like Japan is very very small. See, it'd be different. He was in other countries. Like one of them, for example, he was in America, it'll be a lot different because he could he could go places by himself and it's not so small where people won't know him. And even if they do know him and stuff like that, sometimes you could the women or in the church, because that's what they fear, right? You breaking that image of the faithful man. But some women in the church, they be crushing on you so bad, they'll let you slide. They'll sweep it under the rug. So compared to stateside, some other countries too, you got more room to hang yourself compared to overseas, as far as going no places, without your wife. And then you can get burnt out a lot faster because I mentioned earlier that, they friends first, which helps it a lot. But you can get burnt out a lot faster. They work together. They got to raise their kids. They go home together, and they home once upon a time was next door to the church. So they ain't have no separate cars. So they in the car together. They going, or they walk home together. So like they ain't really have no room to separate from themselves. And sometimes some men can look at it like, he kind of like a slave. Now I ain't saying that he is, but it can kind of look that way because he don't got no me time. He have to create ways to have that me time instead of putting so much stock and putting so much energy, effort, and time into we time. So all the time, and like you get to they probably had their arguments, so you get to like you don't get no space, no separation. You may come home, then they got kids, you gotta deal with the kids, they young, so you really can't get there's more of your me time going away because you got your kids and they not his kids, they not teenagers, they like 8, 10 years old, maybe 7, 8, or 9. So like they young, so it's not like they teenagers or maybe sometime middle school depending on how mature they is, because there's some mature middle schoolers, right, or junior high. They can watch themselves. Like you can come home, go to sleep, they can watch themselves. But them, they got them little kids. You gotta always watch them, make sure they ain't basically gonna burn the house down. And then you gotta turn around. You with your wife. You work all day with her. Then you gotta be a principal with her. Then she gotta go be the pastor wife, so she gotta show up on Sunday. So you see her again on Sunday, and she ain't really got the option whether she want to stay at home or not. She gotta stay there because of the image. The pastor wife gotta talk to people, so every time you go somewhere, she gotta come along too and have conversations with people. And then in the school, she gotta talk to the students. You gotta be involved in it too. Even on weekends when he go places, he can't go too many places on island by himself because people gonna have that image of he moving by himself and all that. It's not about where you're from, it's where you're at. So he in a whole different country, so he don't have as much room to hang himself. And so another thing is, like, let's say it's one of them days where you probably get tired or irritated, then your wife there, she probably tired or irritated. You can't get no separation from her. Yeah, nah, you can't. Nah, no, you can't get no separation from her. Y'all got to an argument before y'all went to work. Now y'all riding in the car together, the car all quiet. Uh, the only thing y'all playing in the song or in the car is "I Need a Little More Jesus." And you tell the kid, he probably mad. You tell the kids to be quiet. Then you go to school. Y'all know y'all had a bad argument. Now you gotta walk past her again. And, you probably tired of seeing her. And then even when you come home, you gotta deal with it again because you gotta still be around her, share the same household. You gotta come to the kids. It's a lot of noise that be going on in his head. And so like that's why I'm telling you, like, he's smart because, and I'm still focusing on the bad, but he's smart because he found somebody that was, friends first. So when he with these, so if it was another situation, like he was with a young girl probably could handle that, or somebody else where they just came on the scene, right? Far as him wearing all these different hats, being the business owner, principal, pastor, a lot of women could handle it, whether they needy or non-needy. They probably could handle it because the needy want to be around him, but they can't because he always moves. And then the non-needy, they gonna get tired of him because they always around him. So it's like you can't you can't win. And then it's only so many places he could go, even with his wife. Like, you know, that's why I say again, he's smart for finding a good wife because like the intimate side, right? Let's talk about the intimate side. That stuff can burn out. So when he with his wife, you intimate in your own house, but the island is so small that you really can't go nowhere like that. So the only place you can go is probably a hotel. But if you already around your wife and all the time, you used to hearing her voice, and you already, kind of burnt out up here, you got a lot of noise, like the intimate, whether you in your house or you go to an Airbnb or whether you go to a hotel, like it ain't gonna be no different. It ain't gonna be no different. The only difference is that you get outside of your house compared to being in a hotel is you can be a little bit more loud. But hey, if you heard her, if she the wife, and he heard her yell all day, who want to hear that? You already heard her yell all day, and she just getting loud and loud. It's gonna make you more irritated. And then it's even in. It's only so much loud, so much screaming she can do. And then the next two, pastors are looked at as public figures, right? Whether y'all agree with or not, pastors are looked at as public figures. Now, some are much more bigger public figures than others, but they still public figures nonetheless because they serve the communities. They serve sometimes the city, and sometimes they serve the state. And in his situation, in Josh's situation, he have an international church and school. So he can walk them. He's kind of walking that fine line as a global public figure in a way. So, and with that being said, again, they have the pastors have this image. Uh, so him being a public figure, he really he can't he got to be very careful when he out in public and he doing certain things. Like he can't do a cartwheel out in public. You see him do a cartwheel, one of the students gonna court him, or he in public he got his shirt off, but it's just a regular day. He can't do it because somebody take a picture and then they're gonna tell they friends or they family members that go to the school or they attendees that go to church, and then it spread around that he out in town, he wilding out, or yeah, he may not even be wilding out. He just may be being himself and just want to have a little fun a little bit, which everybody want to do, whether you old or young. Everybody wants to relax and have a little fun and have a good time. Uh, and it may not even be looked at what he doing. He may not think it's a bad thing, but somebody catch him out of town, they see him, you know, they'll spread the message. And then kids too. That's another thing. He have to hide from kids all the time because you know how kids be when they see their school teacher out in public and stuff like that, or they principal, they want to come talk to him. And if he had a restaurant, they want to sit down and hang out with him because they don't really get to see that side of him in school, so they gonna want to spend their time with him. And he may not even be in the mood. He just won't. That may be his quick window to get some of that me time in, and then now he can't get that me time no more. His we time because he in the serving business, so now he gotta tend to the whoever he dealing with, right? So being a public figure, him being a pastor and a public figure, like it ain't all what it's cut out to be because he get a lot of attention. And then by him being a global public figure, he it's like even more eyes on him because if you mess up that relationship, and again, anybody can bounce back from a bad relationship, but if you mess up their relationship, somebody can go that whether let's say if it's adult, right? The adult can go tell the other adult who's thinking about coming there to the church, to the school or whatever, and then they have this sour relationship. They could tell them, and then they could turn off a future attendee of their place, right? And a lot of times, what people is they don't when they give information about somebody, they don't give it'd be one extreme or the other, right? It'll be super good or it'd be super bad. It's never in between. So, and I give you an example. So, like, let's say if you had a falling out with somebody, right? A lot of times, and they'll tell the other person that you may know that y'all had a falling out, but they're not gonna really get a good moments that y'all had with it. They'll be like, "Oh, we had a falling out," and da da da, woo woo, he ain't this, he ain't that, or they gonna speak very negative on your name, and they ain't gonna rather than saying this, right? They ain't gonna say this. They ain't gonna say, "Yeah, we had a falling out." It's certain stuff that I don't agree with, and however, we've done a lot of good things together as well. It's just that what he did, he couldn't really, come back from. Overall, these are the good things about this person too. A lot of people ain't gonna do that. A lot of people ain't gonna say that. They always gonna give they side of the story and stuff like that because people just gonna be people. So it'll it'll turn people off from coming. So the other side to it is he got kids. The school got kids. So that's another way where you can hurt for him and for other people who got schools and principals and stuff like that. You got kids. Kids can kids can move the parents. So the kids say they don't like, especially the ones who got the resources, the information to be able to move around and get stuff done. If he was in a public figure school, right, he probably wouldn't get as much kickback in a way. Or if he was probably in a poverty stricken area, he wouldn't get as much kickback because a lot of parents gonna be like, well, this is the most I can afford, and you just got to roll it out, and you got to be stuck here. You just got to graduate from here, right? See, a lot of people that he dealing with the working class and up. So, and then they travel, so they not finna. They already seen a lot of different stuff and the opportunity to have more room to get more resources. They ain't finna just stick around if something goes south. They not finna do that. So if the kids say it's bad, that's what the parents gonna roll with. Hey, it's bad. We not going. So that's another thing you gotta think about. So if he hurt the kids, or the kids just have a sour relationship with them, whether they right or wrong, it could it could hurt them too. Because kids, they can make adults, they can really make adults move, right? Because kids can peer pressure adults too. Especially if you have your own kids, they could peer pressure adults. Prime example, some so small, but it's very very big. I'm gonna give you one. Christmas, right? A lot of y'all celebrate Christmas. So when a kid go in the store early before Christmas throughout the year, they see a toy that they like, they see a video game that they like, and all year they been asking their mom and daddy, "Hey, can you buy the game? I want this for Christmas. I want that." And after so long of begging, the kid wake up on Christmas and they finally get it. There's peer pressure. So a kid peer pressure their own parent. They just don't know how to. They just thinking about it as far as they just want what they want. They ain't really figured out how to, which you don't necessarily won't do that because they could be manipulative. But they haven't figured out how to just use that. And I ain't saying that they should, but kids can peer pressure. The pastor of the church and the owner of the school, he wear too many hats. He wear way too many hats. And sometimes him being slow to hire, quick to fire, can backfire. So he a principal, he a teacher, a coach, business owner, husband, father. And did I say business owner? I think I said business owner, pastor. But yeah, he wear way too many hats, and that's not including if he probably got mentorship groups on the side because he do on weekends, which he do have mentorship for men, so he got to go run that. And it's not including him thinking about investing ventures and stuff like that. But the invested is different because you ain't really got to be active as far as operated on a day to day basis. But he wear way too many hats anyway. He got probably about like 5, 6, 7 different hats. And so a lot of times he be over busy. One minute he'll come downstairs, he'll be a principal. He got to make sure the payroll, the budget right. Then he got to go back upstairs, go put some grades in. Then at the end of the night, he got to go home and make sure his sermon right for Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then on top of that, he got to go be a husband, make sure his wife's straight. Then he got to turn around and make sure his kid's straight. And then even before he get home, the last few hours of the evening time, he probably gotta go spend that going to watch the kids, as far as they athletics and stuff, making sure they do what they supposed to. So he wear way too many hats, and y'all know how it goes. You can stretch yourself too thin. And so, and yeah, like I said, it's smart for him to be slow to hire, quick to fire, but in some ways it could backfire because in this situation, he ain't got enough staff to outsource all his stuff just yet. And sometimes it may not, it may be because he ain't got a big enough budget. That could be what it is too. Because when you a teacher and you looking to come somewhere, because a lot of people that he bring, they have to come out here if they not already out here. So what that comes with extra expenses. You got to come with lodging, well, really, I follow the per diem, your lodging, hotel, and then you got to make sure they have a place to stay. Make sure you basically got to make sure their whole life gets set up. He ain't probably got to hold their hand, but I'm pretty sure he got to make sure their life set up so they can perform properly and get the best education to his students, or coaching, or being a principal, whatever. And I'm pretty sure his mama is pulling the strings behind it too. We not finna. He probably want to do it, but she like, nah, we not finna put no band-aid over this. We gonna stitch it up slowly and let it heal. We ain't finna just go out there and just go get a band-aid. Meaning they not finna just go out there and just go get anything against a quick fix. Um, and that could be another reason why not he got, and another one, he have a high turnover in his church. See, even though it's very diverse, majority of the Americans that come there are military, right? And just in general, people that come overseas and they're American, they probably, for the most part, I would say 90%, maybe 95, that they not gonna be there long term, like 10, 15 years plus long term. Because a lot of them in the military, or then you may have some people like me that's digital nomads, so they traveling and going to different spots months at a time. So he gonna have a lot of high turnover rate far as his American audience because they either, like I said, they're in the military or they're a government contractor or they a digital nomad, they visa may expire, the contract may be up, or they time may be up on island, so they gotta always move and shift and go somewhere else. And then with the Japanese and Filipino, the Japanese community, they may be much more likely to stay there because that's their roots. They grew up there. The Philippines, on the other hand, they probably ain't gonna stay there as much. Japanese do, they probably some of them ain't gonna stay there as much neither because a lot of them have kids that go to the school. So when a kid graduate and they go somewhere else, the parents, some of them tend to go with the kid. Or when the kid leave from the school, they kind of fall off from being active in the church and stuff like that. So he have a lot of high turnover. Now, he's been fortunate enough to always have, steady members in his church, but he's gonna have a lot of high turnover because a lot of people are always moving. It's different compared to some other countries. You could have uh Hadame, Ray, Uncle Joe, Madam Nisi. You can have all them. They grow up in the church. They start out as a kid in the church with their grandmama, and then they raised in the church and still go to the same church, and they on the front row. They've been sitting there 40, 50 years. That's some country. His, and he got some people that been in his church for some years now. Don't get it twisted. But it ain't gonna be no steady. He ain't got no steady diet of that. Cause in certain other countries they got a steady diet and people who've been sitting in the front row for years, and they don't come just five deep. It'd be about 10. It'd be a whole roster, 10, 15, 20 off, 25 on, and then they become what they call them, deacons in the church, ushers. They start serving food in the church, so they grew up in it. Now they start rooting. They get rooted in the church, and now they know everybody in the community. Nah, he ain't like that. And it's hard for him to know everybody, or for those ones who've been coming to church. It's hard for them to try to build that relationship with everybody because they always moving. You always get new faces, every 3 to 5 years and stuff like that. Yeah, when they come back and they probably come back to visit, they'll remember you. But it ain't the same when you've been coming there on a consistent basis, 5 years, 10 years plus at a time. So he got a lot of high turnover. He have a lot of the talent level in his school, as far as his his kids, the sports that they play, it ain't that good. No, no, it ain't that good. So, and I'm gonna explain why. So he hired. Don't get me wrong. He hired competent coaches. Like the coaches, they is not bad at all. He hired some pretty competent coaches. It's just the talent level is different there because the parents that send their kids to school, again, they filter anyway because they traveling. They have a certain lifestyle that's different from a poverty stricken lifestyle. So they not gonna push the poverty lifestyle. They gonna push their kid to play them sports, and that's their ticket to where they gotta go. But a lot of them, they don't really push them playing sports like that. So they not really focused on that. They more so focused on, hey, you going the education route, you gonna become a pastor or some music, or some form of education where they got a degree. A lot of them, they don't really push their kids into the workforce unless it's military. But the talent, unlike certain countries, because I'm gonna tell you, like Africa for one of them, America another one, and what's the other one? Them other countries like Lithuania and stuff like that. They parents, they pushing their kids to, hey, you need to do good in basketball, you need to do good in football, you need to do good in cross country, you need to do good in track, so you can go ahead and get that scholarship. So them kids, and they already poor, so them kids, they coming in hungry, like they working like they life depend on it. And obviously a lot of them don't make it, but they working like they life depend on it, and it translate over to they play on court. They're a lot more aggressive. They talk a lot more trash. Um, they just different. They hungry when they move on the court. No kids, and not on court, not just the court, but on the field, on the track, anything. No kids, they move more hungry. Unlike his kids, they because they have their life is already decent, if not great. They ain't hungry in that area, and it shows when they play them sports. So that's why the talent level ain't that good there. Now that could be a contributing factor too to why people, like, you may have supporters of the church, but they may not go to the school because some of them may have talented kids, and they're like, I don't want my kid wasting his talent here because they don't have the other kids. They not investing and going hard in it. So some parents fear that if they send their kid to the school and they play sports, their kid gonna regress. And a lot of times he kind of got a gift for the curse because he have a church and school, and they go hand to hand. Like I mentioned earlier, like you got some kids. And I've talked to them. You got some kids that don't believe in just going to church. They like the school, but they don't believe in going to church. And the kids sometimes, like I said, peer pressure. If the kids don't like going to the church and they don't believe in the church, because a lot of times they value the school more than the church. If they not going, the parents ain't going. So that's another factor of how the church can be affected too, like the talent level. Now he does do a good job as far as offsetting that, as far as having more events and stuff like that. But again, we in a time where the church is valued more than the school. So that's pretty much it. That's all I got for this, conversation. I'm gonna start doing these more often because people are always asking for my perspective on things and stuff like that, and they saying I should speak more and stuff and talk more like that. So I hear y'all, and now I'm actually listening to y'all. So I don't know what I'm gonna name it yet. As far as these, maybe conversations with drip or something like that. I ain't really worrying about the name too much. I'm just focused on getting my perspective on things out there. But let me give y'all this disclaimer though, off the rip. So for those that's watching this, my content operates out of nothing but pure ice. So with that being said, basically that's a special acronym that I came up with: inspiration, creativity, educational, and entertainment. That's all my content is meant to be. This content ain't here to really offend anybody. I ain't here to be talking about a lot of drama and starting no beef. I ain't doing none of that on the internet space that everybody else do. I just want to share perspective. Now I'm telling you this: if the perspective fits, wear it. If it don't fit, then don't feed into it. Like don't watch it. Like I'm not trying to get all into that whole internet stuff. My goal is to just provide good stories, good topics, and good things to talk about. There's nothing but positive vibes over here. If you have negative energy and stuff like that, stay away. Do not come up over here. And some of y'all will probably watch this and try to pick my words and say all this. Dude or girl, shut up. Just enjoy it and just focus on it. Stop trying to nitpick everything. And just because I said this, it don't mean everything. Again, if y'all know, it's called the quad six. 6 feet, 6 inches, 6 degrees separation, and 6 seconds. You gotta look at all aspects of this person. Especially the ones who think about doing business with me and stuff like that. Look at all aspects. Get your investigative skills up. Don't just think because I interviewed this one person that I may be in alignment with. Now, again, I may agree with some things everybody say, and there's some things that I don't agree with. But at the same time, my goal on my platform, when I interview people and when I have conversations, it's gonna be free, as far as freedom of speech, and it's gonna be safe. So that's my whole purpose of the content. Now, if I feel the need to challenge them, I'm gonna challenge them. But like, y'all just be I be seeing y'all on the comment sections and other people's platform on the internet, and I'm gonna repost this part of the video more often. But y'all be in the comment sections, y'all be all over the place. So that's how I just want to leave y'all. I'm gonna start doing these more often, but I'm giving y'all disclaimers up front, like about how I'm coming with my content. Pure ice. Inspiration, creativity, educational, entertainment. That's how it's gonna be. And it's gonna be well balanced. So, hey, till then, till next time, salute. Yeah.